All right, so this is the this is the children's beginner. We do have Jennifer who's joining us for the next little bit until we get caught up. Welcome to Kayla, who's been here from before. So I'm recording this, so this will be on YouTube, okay? And welcome to Odie. This is Odie's second lesson here, and he's been eating cupcakes during the break, haven't you? Yeah, it's pretty darn good. This is a nice thing about coming and having snacks. Okay. All right, so just going through what we did last week. We were doing the open string pizzicato last week. Remember, pizzicato is Italian for pluck, okay? And I think we were doing 1 to 6, weren't we? Okay, so here's what we're going to do today. We're going to just go through a couple of the exercises for the open strings pizzicato. So let's put our violins underneath our chin, okay? Chin on the chin rest. So make sure that you remember that your nose and your scroll is going to be even, and it's not going to be down in the floor. It's not going to be up in the ceiling. It's going to be even with that. If you have a shoulder rest, that's really, really going to make it a lot easier to keep your violin the way it's supposed to be, okay? So remember, we're going to put our thumb back on the star that I gave you last week. The wrist is going to be back. It's not going to be up against the violin itself. It's going to be back because we want to be able to play on our fingertips once we start getting into placing our fingers on the lines. So just again as a reminder, we have 4 fingers, okay, and 1 thumb. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, so let's take our thumbs, put it into the slash. So we're plucking this week. And let's try number 1. So we're gonna go A, and A, and D, and D, and D, and D, and A, and A, and A, and A, and D, and D, and D, and D. Okay, before we get started again, or keep on going, how many of you remembered your tuners today? Did you remember your tuners? Good job. So, did you get a tuner? It's kind of like that. It should be a black one. Yes. So A. Okay, Jennifer, if you don't have one, can you remind me? Kelly, I think Kelly has one in stock, and so we'll lend that to you. Okay. Yes? Yeah, no, that's good. You should, just for you that are watching here, you should actually be tuning your instrument every single time before you play. Because of the weather, and especially now because the weather's got super cold, you can go from one room to the other in your house. You can go from your outside, go into a warm car and bring it out again, and guaranteed it'll be out, okay? Yes?
It is not working.
Okay, you know what? I wonder if we need to change the battery on this little sucker. Yeah, you're right, babe. It's not. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, hang on here. I think we need a new battery on this. It looks like it's okay, but sometimes you can put them on the bridge too, because it's the vibration, right? So, no. So I think we need a new battery on this. So the new battery is the round ones you get at the dollar store. Have you seen them? Okay, let me tune this for you then. All right, you're welcome. The other thing is too, just remember the bow, the rosin on the bow will dry out really quickly too. I'm rosining my bow, and I play a lot during the day because I teach, right? Probably 3 times, at least, or 3 or 4 times. Just remember, and this is kind of instruction for the people that are on the video, that with your rosin, you're probably going to have to scratch it with a key so that you get a little bit of loose rosin off on it, because you want that rosin dust coming off onto your bow hair once we start to do it. And we'll take a look at that today because we haven't got the bow on the strings yet, okay? The other thing is too, when the rosin comes off of the bow, it sticks onto the strings and it goes everywhere. Now, rosin dust will eat through your varnish very, very quickly, and your strings. I think the last time we had a violin, yeah, that's right, yeah. You just get a very light cloth. You can get a little face cloth, or you can get a little glass cloth, or whatever you want to do, right? And just making sure that you're always cleaning them off, especially the strings, because it really cakes on and it'll eat through the nickel, and then it'll go right through the string and the string will break. And so a new set of strings right now, I think, well, I heard my husband say, who works at King's Music, a new set of guitar strings is $5, okay? A new set of violin strings, they're starting at $85 is what they're doing, okay? So, I mean, if you play a lot like I do, I change every 3 months. You guys, you're good to go for at least a year to a year and a half. Unless you all of a sudden decide that you're going to take up fiddle as your career, okay? And then it'll be once every 3 months. Okay, so we did a little bit of plucking there. We did number 1. Okay, so Odie, let's pick one more line. What are we going to do? What number should we do on exercise 1, or lesson 1? The 3, number 3. Okay, let's do 3 then. All right. No, we're plucking it with our finger in the slash, okay? And underneath your chin. Okay, you ready? So Odie, number 3 for you, buddy. You ready? Open A. And A. And D. And D. And A. And A. And oh, have you got E? Okay, sorry. All right, and D, and D. Okay, what's the next one's Kathleen? A, and D, and E, and A, D, and D, and A, and let's finish off on D. You got it. You got it. Good job, Odie. Good job. Yeah, I know. I think because what happened is I didn't have an E in the actual thing there. All right. So how many of you went on, I can't remember because I didn't write your homework down. Did we go on to lesson 2? Or were we doing some plucking on that one too? No? Okay. Yeah. With the G?
No, just figuring out the notes.
Oh, okay. All right. So just to let you know how this is going to go, we are going to start to read music, and we started it last week when we were doing hot cross buns. We were introduced to 3 new notes, okay? So what I have done on this is, to get started, I've done violin tablature. So if you see a D with a 0 beside it, that means you're going to find it on your D string, and it's going to be an open string, okay? If you see an A with a 0 beside it, that means it's going to be an A, no fingers. Right now, we're not doing any fingers at all. So if you take a look at lesson 2, you're looking at the first line is A to D, okay? The second or the third line is D to G. And then number 4, you're looking at, goes from A to D to G. Okay, so we're introduced to 3 strings there. At number 5, you're looking at its high E, or the open E string, to the open A string. So we're actually introduced to all of the strings on lesson number 2. So what I would like you to do for this week is I'd like you to go through at least 1 to 8 of plucking that. But this week what we're going to do, and Annabelle, I'm so sorry that you're not here for it, but we will catch you up for next week, is we're going to go through and figure out how to hold the bow. Now in your first book there, one of the tabs, I think it's at the very beginning. It might even be a few after this lesson 2 material here. You'll see how to hold the bow, and it's all colored pictures, and it shows you how the hands are placed and stuff like that. But we're going to go from the beginning, and 2 of our members are children, and 1 of our members is an adult. So we're going to go from a children's point of view, and we're going to pretend that this is Roger Rabbit. So we've got 2 teeth, a jaw, and 2 ears. Okay. So we got 2 teeth, a jaw, and 2 ears. So we're going to take that bottom thumb or the jaw, and we're going to put it on the base right underneath the frog there. We're going to keep the 2 middle fingers together. Pretend they're the best of friends, and they've just accidentally got crazy glued together. So they're sitting on a fence with their legs dangling over the end, the fence here, okay? And then you're gonna take your first finger, you're gonna bend it at the first knuckle, and you're gonna curl it over your grip, so that silver grip there, and then you're going to take your pinky and you're gonna put it on the end of the screw. So basically, the end of the screw, that's what it's doing, is it's balancing there. So we've got the thumb on the bottom, we've got the 2 middle fingers together, hanging over and covering Froggy's eye. Okay, so remember the little circle there is Froggy's eye. We're going to put the first finger at the first knuckle onto the grip, and we're going to place the pinky on the screw, all right? So that it's got a bit of a good balance. Now, through time, when we get things together, we're going to learn how to put our thumb into the crook. But for right now, just so that you're getting started, so that you feel comfortable, we're going to do this hold, okay? Now, just remembering that all beginners at the very beginning grasp onto the bow, okay? It becomes like a death grip. And this will happen for quite a long time. But what I want you to remember is you want to make sure that everything is just very lightly you can actually hold on to it. You want to hold on to it so it's not falling out of your hand, okay? But you want to make sure that it's just really loosely held. And the reason for that is if I clasp onto it really strong, it actually will freeze up my wrist. And what we want is we want this kind of emotion, okay, with our wrist when we're actually playing. Now that'll come with time. Beginners are always, you're white knuckling it and everything. Don't worry about it. We'll get past that. It will happen, okay? So the one thing I want you to remember that when we're trying to put pressure on the strings with the bow, at that first knuckle, you're going to put a little bit more pressure on it just so that we can get, so that rather, if you don't put any pressure, this is what you get. If you put a little bit of pressure on it, you get this. Okay? And you always think, when you go down bow, you're going with gravity. Up bow, you're going without gravity, which means you have to put a little bit more pressure on that first finger on your bow so you get an even sound. Otherwise, you get this. You get a nice down bow. If you don't put any pressure, you get this. And it'll jump all over the place too, okay? So you want to have a pressure going down and then up. A little bit pressure going up, okay? You don't want this, because this is remember how people say, oh, I hate beginner violinists because they sound like they're killing the cat, okay? I can guarantee you guys, we're not going to kill the cat, all right? We just have to figure out how much pressure do I put on that bow to get an even sound. All right, let's try it on the A string. So you're going to play between the bridge and the end of the fingerboard. You want it right in the middle there, okay? And what you want to do is you want to have your bow stick parallel to the bridge. So you want to bring it around so that your bow hand is going down, okay? So that it kind of looks like this, okay? Can you see how my hand is there? So you're going to bring it down and then up again. Up and down and up. Okay. Now, this is a very good opportunity for us to discuss rosin. Okay? I want you to pull your rosin out of your case. And everybody's going to do this with me. Let me just get mine from my case. Okay, if you actually rented your violin, you should have been given some stuff in a box, okay? There is rosins that you have that the dust actually will come right off and go onto your bow. There's other rosins like this that you can buy that if you have asthma or you have problems with breathing, respiratory problems, I have major asthma things, you could actually buy this and you don't need to scratch it. So the reason that you would need to scratch it is because you need to get that dust off of the actual rosin thing itself. So sometimes what you need to do is you need to take a key and just give it a really good scratch. And again, this stuff dries out really quickly. So it could be every time before you rosin that you need to rosin it back up again, okay? So mine, I don't need to scratch at all, but I'm sure that each one of you, because we haven't used the rosin yet, will have to scratch their rosin, okay? So, and Kayla, maybe you can help Jennifer over here too with hers. There you go, you got it going, okay? So when you actually will put your finger over your rosin cake, you'll get dust coming off onto it, okay? Now, how do I know whether or not I've got enough rosin on my bow? Kayla?
You take the bow.
Yeah.
Put the string right on here because that's what we have.
The oil.
And the oil.
Yeah.
And then you swipe it, and after it's white.
You got it. You got it. Thank you, Kayla. So as she was saying, you're going to check it around this area right here, and all you're going to do is you're going to go like this. You see how much white I've got? It's really white. Okay, so you want to make sure that it's nice and white.
So I just go like this?
Yep, you're going to go up and down and up and down. And Kayla, can you go and check Jennifer's to see whether or not she needs to scratch that with a key? Yeah, so give it a really good one. Now, how do we know, as I said, that we have enough rosin, as I just showed you? Now, also, you don't want to scratch your rosin so that you're breaking parts off, and I'm going to explain why, is because in the rosin itself, there's microscopic bugs called bug mites, and you'll never see them, but they do live in rosin, and especially rosin that has broken. As long as it's all in one piece, you're good. But as soon as it starts to chip off and it goes into your case, that bug mites will start. And what do bug mites do? Bug mites actually will eat through the hair of your bow, right? And you'll start to see that all of a sudden your hairs are pulling off like crazy. That's when you know you've got bug mites. So then what do? You put it, okay, yeah, Kayla, tell me.
Put the bow in the freezer for a couple of hours.
24 hours, you're right. It has to go into the freezer for 24 hours. Okay, is yours coming off all the time, or did you, sometimes when you take it out, you just kind of catch it now and again?
I think I don't know, because we haven't touched it because we were just plucking, and I know it came to us that way.
I have bug mites.
I don't know. You know what you can do? Odie, come over here. Let me see yours, okay? I can tell you right off.
I think I have
Yeah, you know, sometimes, you know what happens? Sometimes we just catch our bows on things in our cases and it breaks it, okay? So Odie's wondering whether or not this is bug mites. It's a good sign if you start having hair like this coming off all the time, okay? But you know what, Odie? Let's see here. No, you'll find that the bow hair will get really, really loose on either end, and it's just pulling off one after another. So I think this has just been caught in his case. So it's not a big, but you know what? It's good eyes on looking on that, Odie, okay? Because yeah, you really want to make sure that you don't get that, all right? So again, sorry.
I have a couple of violins, old violins that haven't been used for like 40 years, and there's definitely full of bug mites. Like I opened up the case and it's like, ew.
Okay, is the hairs all coming off?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was too expensive to get them so this is why I chose to rent one rather
Yeah.
than refurbish those. But
Yeah.
since it has the bug mites, what do I do?
Okay, on that case,
Yeah.
because it's been it's been in the case for 40 years, right? It definitely will need a rehair. Okay,
Yeah.
so a rehair.
And what about the case?
Okay, so good point. Thanks, Jennifer. All right, so how do you get bug mites out of your case? Is you take your vacuum to it and give it a super, super good vacuum, all right? Don't put those bows back in the case, keep them out. You're gonna have them rehaired anyway. And I'm not sure what a new rehair is. It might be around $80.
I think it's a bit more than that, but
Yeah.
I won't do it unless I'm going to continue.
Yeah, sometimes it's almost worth buying a new bow because you can buy a new bow for that.
Yeah, and they looked at it. One of them was not really worth saving. The other one was.
Yeah, some of the bows, I mean, they can be really nice bows. I mean, mine is a nice bow just because I play all the time. Some of them are actually silver. They're silver, like your screws and your ferrules, right? And so those are really nice, and those are worth rehairing because they're great bows. But yeah, if the bow's not worth it, then I would just say toss it and go and buy a new one. But also too, you want to make sure about the violins. If they haven't been played for that long, you might want to start playing it. You might want to look at having it, at least maybe one of them at this time, restrung, okay? But if you're playing one that's rented, do what you want to do. Maybe at the end of the year you say, I don't want to rent anymore because now I'm good enough to play on the other ones.
Leave it as is, and then if I continue on like next year,
Yeah.
to have a look at.
Yeah, and I can take a look at it, and we have a super luthier at King's Music that it would go out to. Like, he's not the fastest guy, it takes a bit of time, but he's got a lot of violins that he actually services. So we can take a look at that, because if you're interested, bring them in June, and then you can throw it into King's Music and let him work on it for 2 months or whatever, right? And go from there. Okay, now, so we talked about rosin. We talked about bow mites. We talked about the bow hold, okay? So what we're going to do, another thing I want to teach you to do, and this might be a little difficult for me. Actually, Kayla, I'll tell you, because you know how to do this. Put your violin down for now. If you want to come and follow me and hold on to this while I'm recording, Kayla's going to be my recording buddy here.